Technology seems to have advanced in leaps and bounds over the past 70 years. But when it comes to wheelchair design, well, time seems to have stood still. Until now, that is. Because thanks to one London inventor, things are moving forward at last. Mik Scarlet has the story.
All of us wheelchair users want to get off the beaten track from time to time, whether it's to visit a park, sit on a beach and get a nice tan, or to enjoy the lovely countryside. But conventional wheelchairs only really work well on normal road surfaces. So we're left with two choices. We can either spend a ton of money on a different chair for each different terrain, or we can plan our journeys to avoid cobblestones, gravel, grass and muddy fields. Ugh.
We were initially given an NHS wheelchair, but we quickly realised this could only be used for shopping trips.
I couldn't even go and see my son play cricket.
The small wheels at the front of the wheelchair continually get caught in the smallest potholes, causing the chair to come to a sudden halt, sending shudders through my arms and indeed making it very uncomfortable for my wife.
You're like a sack of potatoes, really, pushed here and there.
So, roll forward the Trekinetic. Modern, sleek, daring and innovative, it looks great. But does it work? And was its designer wise to risk everything to bring it to the market? I'm off to Uxbridge to find out. Inventor Mik Spindle believes a good design is something that's both practical and attractive. As a former Formula 1 engineer, he certainly understands the mechanics of motion. But Mike himself isn't disabled, so what on earth prompted him to design a wheelchair?
We were at Luton Airport. We were about to go on a family holiday, and I saw this kid struggling with his wheelchair. He was so cool looking, but his wheelchair looked so cumbersome. It was so old-fashioned. I actually tried to redesign that wheelchair on the back of the boarding pass, but by the time we came back from holiday, I realised that a completely fresh approach was what we needed. After a while, I came to realise that what the market required was a portable, all-terrain wheelchair, and that's what I decided to focus upon.
Over the course of the next 6 years, the design slowly evolved, but the journey was long and often difficult for Mike and his wife Karen.
When he had the idea of the Trekinetic, I knew it was a good idea and I knew it would come to fruition. I just didn't realise how long it would take.
In 2003, Mike finally felt the Trekinetic was ready to unveil. He invited a group of wheelchair users to the Aspire Centre in Stanmore to take a look. Mike's unusual three-wheel design had borrowed from Formula 1 technology to create a lightweight, carbon fibre monocoque seat, which was curved for comfort. Initial responses to the wheelchair were positive.
Unfortunately, the excitement of that particular day was brought to a crashing halt by the arrival of a man called Gibbons. He wanted to test our wheelchair, and he got in it and he flew across the gym at very high speed. And as soon as he did it, it became obvious we had a wheelchair that wouldn't go in a straight line.
This thing was like driving a tea trolley around.
It was a complete and utter disaster.
I turned to him and said, you know, how much feedback do you want on this chair? How much truth do you want?
I liked Robin. He was intelligent. He was an ex-pilot, ex-diver.
And he said, I want the absolute truth.
He was exactly the kind of person we were aiming a high-tech wheelchair at.
It's got this massive banana seat on it, and the discs on the wheels were painted with fire. A person in a wheelchair doesn't want to be seen as a character wheelchair that happens to have a person sat in it. The person wants to be the character that happens to be sat in the wheelchair.
There still remained the problem of the chair's inability to run in a straight line. I came to realise that what we needed was some sprung-loaded type of device in this rear caster that would make it lock when it went in a straight line. And this is the one feature that makes the three-wheel design actually work.
But Mike, even at that stage, things still weren't quite right, were they?
No, when we first started testing the Trekinetic, it became pretty obvious straight away that it was like twice as fast over rough ground. But the trouble is, as the ground got rougher, it just became more and more unsteady. In fact, it was completely unstable. I felt sick, really. I'd gone from thinking that I'd reinvented the wheel to this kind of really grim realisation we were on the verge of losing everything. Our home, the business, all the staff that work for us all have to be let go. And for what? Just because I had a whim one day that somehow I could show the world how to build a better wheelchair.
So once again, it was back to the drawing board. If the Trekinetic was going to be truly versatile, it needed to be 2 wheelchairs in one. It obviously needed stability, which would only come if Mike opted to widen the distance between its wheels, like you see on sports wheelchairs. But it also needed to have wheels that were lean enough to fit through doorways. Mike had to find a way that someone with limited movement would be able to alter the angle of the wheels to suit the environment they were in. So now the chair has 2 settings. Mean for outdoor use and lean for indoor use. The settings can be changed by twisting a shaft underneath the chair. Simple. 7 years later, and at a cost of hundreds of thousands of pounds, the wheelchair was finally ready to go on the market. So, was it worth it? We invited 2 wheelchair users to meet us here on Hampstead Heath. Yeah. Leroy Dobson and Amir Laksari both play for the London Sparrows, a leading wheelchair basketball team based in Hackney.
Oh look, there's a little hen.
The chair take a bit of getting used to, but once you get accustomed to it, it will be great to get around. I think this chair would be particularly useful if you want to go to the beach, the park, or to the fun fair.
It enables me to carry my daughter, when we go out, which I wouldn't have been able to do that on a wheelchair other than this. I think it gives you new choices, and these choices could make you more independent and more active in life.
Developing the Trekinetic has taken its toll on the company coffers, so there's no money left over for advertising. Mike relies on word of mouth to sell his chairs. One of his customers is James Foster, who describes himself as an adrenaline junkie.
I'd say the Trekinetic is very much the mountain bike of wheelchairs. I've raced down tracks in and around Mount Snowdon, I've taken it regular romps in and around the New Forest, I've taken it through shopping centres, museums, I've even taken it into restaurants that I've had to clean the tyres first.
Joan and Peter bought their chair 3 months ago.
Before Mike's chair, if we wanted to go for a decent walk, we'd have to leave Joan at home. We walk up into the countryside along bridleways, on grass, uneven surfaces, and it's access that Joan certainly thought she would never be able to do again.
We can even go to the beach. It doesn't sound like much to get excited about, but it's changed my life.
My message to other designers, follow your first instinct. Ignore convention, take some time off if you fail, and above all remember, the answers are there if you look hard enough.